Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a follow-up video to my prior one where I featured at 3MA Audio. They have a room with a 6-pack of carbon special REL subs mated with MBL 116Fs in an array format. Now when I originally did that video, I purposely did it when they just did very primitive setup. Basically just put them there, hooked them up, did basic crossover setting points, but didn't really do the full Monty dial in and whatnot yet. And what was really great is that in the interim, the REL distributor came out there, or one of the representatives came out there, and they let him actually tweak it upstairs. And you'll get to hear today, I played some of the same tracks, the improvement that was made just with setup. So again, it kind of fits the whole theme of my channel. Is like the brand names are important, but dialing things in and setting them up can make a big difference. And then I'm gonna give some more commentary because it was good before, better now, but I'm also going to explain how there's still some limitations with the room and other things that keep things from being the best. And there's always some trade-offs too that piggyback into my swarm versus array. And I'll give a few thoughts on that as well that may help you in making your decisions on how you set things up. But before I get any further, I thought I would bring up something that came up in the membership section. I do some texting with members and they bring up some things that are cool for me to check out as well. And one thing I got wind of was some YouTubers that constantly put best in their titles. And I know why they do it. They do it for YouTube algorithm purposes, search engine, SEO, and to get more views, because that's a common thing that people search for. Best speakers under 500, best systems in the world. These are the type things that trigger more views in a search engine. So a lot of these YouTubers will put best in the title, and I don't begrudge them doing that, especially if that's their living. They got to do what they need to do. But just realize sometimes when people are putting these titles, they are more for fluff purposes and for their purposes of algorithm and better views than for your purposes. They may not have the experience to really know what's best. They may not share their room measurements or even music in their room to give you even a chance to judge if these things are the best. You just got to take their word for it. And so, like I said, I don't blame them, but they can't blame me for calling out why they're really doing this. It's not because they really have the qualifications to say it's best, particularly, at least they haven't proven that, in my opinion. So just be cognizant of that, because one that was brought to my attention was a recent video where probably, they used the caveat, probably best system in the world. And I watched the video. Guy's got REL 6-pack, got impeccable equipment, brand names. But he's got 6-pack of RELs jammed in the corner behind him, and he's got no room treatments. And even at the end, when the two guys are talking on the couch, you can hear echo, even on my cell phone playing it. So you can't have a video saying best, probably best in the world, not even mention one thing about room treatments, not show any kind of measurements, not show any kind of audio tracks, nothing at all. Just here's fancy gear haphazardly put in the room to look nice, but take my word for it, it's the best in the world. Okay, that's done more for algorithm, SEO purposes, that best in the world, than for really something you should trust as best in the world. So again, fits kind of my motto of my channel. Brand names, equipment, very important. Setup, room, all these things play a part. And that piggybacks into what I was going to talk about with the 6-pack of carbon specials that were set up at 3MA. Now they sound a lot better, and kudos to the REL guy for setting them up and giving much better performance. Now, one thing that comes up that piggybacks off of the other videos that I've talked about is that you're still talking about constraints of the room, which in that room they've sold out of all their bass treatments. They used to have REL traps, bass traps, and then my ASC tube traps used to be up there that I bought from them. So they're very light right now on bass traps. So there are still some issues with cancellations and nodes at the listening position. So you got to also factor that into getting things to the best. Still would require a little bit of room treatments and stuff. But also another thing that came out of this whole thing is mating certain speakers to subs is a little more challenging depending on the type of sub. And the type of main speaker. And I forgot to mention this in prior videos, or I just didn't go into this kind of minutia because, again, this is a series that could go on forever. with different nuances. But the MBL 116Fs have side firing kind of bipolar woofers, and those are a little bit harder to mate with an array 6-pack that are really close to the speakers. The reason being is just in general they would be harder because side firing woofers, you could get the phase somewhat correct, you know, both of them going in and out at the same time, your subwoofer than that, but usually phase can only be done at one frequency. And then as soon as the side firing woofers fire with main floor standing speakers, they hit the sidewall pretty quickly and create a different timing element than your subwoofer maybe aimed differently or shot at the long wall like REL recommends. So there are some time coherence and phase are a little bit tougher with mating a side firing full range speaker with a REL array, especially if it's a full range speaker and you're using the high level, because you're basically not cutting off what your main speakers are doing. And so that the MBLs are still going to be playing full capacity in that bipolar side firing format. And then you've got 3 sets of subs at different crossover points firing a different way. And so nobody would invent a speaker that had both front firing and side firing woofers in one cabinet. So trying to mate front firing subwoofers with side firing main speakers is definitely a challenge, and there will be some trade-offs. So again, things like this have to be taken into consideration, and so many guides on subwoofer setup don't get into this level of minutia, but these nuances make a big difference. So just wanted to let you know that, you know, good as it was in my first video, it's definitely much better. Can it get to be best? It may not even ever be totally best unless we could roll off the MBLs to not do as much bass at all, and then we have some bass traps. But I think you'll appreciate in these tracks what improvements were made just with setup. And then to the REL array, to their benefit, we did do a test. I listened with the top array off and tried to appreciate how much value that extra set of top speakers provide in an array format versus, we didn't try them spread out in a swarm, but just on or off, whether those top array did benefit. And overall, I would say it's a positive, but there are some trade-offs because you are commingling frequencies with those drivers. So you do have to get them pretty close. And there is a formula. Maybe I'll put up a table or at least a website that'll help you. With whatever your crossover frequency is, there is actually a formula for a distance you want your subwoofers to be maximum away from your main speakers to avoid cancellation, because they will kind of conflict with themselves. And the bipolar nature of the 116F, creating kind of a circular, and then the front firing RELs behind them, you know, are always going to have a little bit of a trade-off. But I think you're going to appreciate how much improvement is in this video and how those same songs sound better. And for 99% of people, this would be, you know, really great performance in bass. So kudos to them setting it up in a room with no treatments right now. More time, more treatments, more attention to these little nuances I talked about. We could even get it further along, but go ahead and enjoy these tracks. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you back here soon.